You're listening to the Erica and McAfee podcast, a faith-based podcast for Black women and women of color to share stories of grief and loss due to miscarriage, infant loss, stillbirth, and journeys of trying to conceive and infertility. Welcome to episode 29 of the Erica and McAfee podcast. Today's podcast is brought to you by my friends at Audible. Get a free audiobook download and 30-day free trial by visiting audibletrial.com/Erica. In today's episode, we have Aniesa Knapp, who shares her 20-week pregnancy story of daughter Ava and her personal blog, My Hope Floats. Aneisa is the mom to Angel Ava, who was born into heaven at 20 weeks and has been married to her husband Don for 3 years. They live in Hartford County, Maryland with their fur baby Piper. Aneisa is a nurse who works as a home care liaison. She created the My Hope Floats blog to continue to heal and to hopefully connect with others who have experienced pregnancy loss. Here is Aneisa. Thank you, Aneisa, for being a part of the podcast.
How are you?
I'm good.
Good.
So tell us about yourself and what you do.
My name is Aneisa. I'm 38 years old. I currently live in Hartford County, Maryland. I'm a nurse, and I've been married to my husband for almost 4 years.
Awesome. So tell us about your loss story.
So we found out that we were pregnant in early August of 2014. Through the end of July, I was just like, I'm just late. My period is coming because, we'd been like inactively trying, not really thinking about it. And I was like, yeah, I'm not pregnant. And finally I said, let me take a test. And I took a test. And I took 2 tests and it was positive, and it was just life-changing. It was probably the best day of my life, both of us. And we were pregnant, and, doctor's appointments were perfect. The baby measured fine. I felt fine. It was, I guess in my eyes, a picture-perfect pregnancy. No complications, no morning sickness. I was just pregnant, and we were just going to have a baby. Like, nothing was concerning at all. We had an anatomy scan at 20 weeks and everything looked great. We found out we were having a girl during our gender reveal, which was the Saturday after our anatomy scan, which was on a Tuesday. And that Saturday we were having a girl. Everything was fine. We had family and friends over. It was a great day. And I can vividly remember I was sitting on the floor opening up gifts. And I had a girlfriend there who just had a baby, and her child was 3 months at the time. Mm-hmm. And I just thought that I was urinating on myself, and nothing concerned me at all. And I was like, oh my gosh, I think my bladder just leaked. And I went upstairs and I sat on the toilet, and, what I thought was urination, urinated a little bit more. And that's it. Came downstairs, kept chatting with my friends, and it happened again, a little more leaking. So I went upstairs and changed again and put on a sanitary napkin, came downstairs, and, this was Saturday evening, and everything was fine. No bleeding, no cramping, no pain, nothing to make me think that was my water breaking. And so that was Saturday. Sunday came and went. Monday came and went, and by Tuesday, I just had this, I don't know if it was a mother's intuition or what it was, but something just said to me, I'm just going to call my doctor and just see if I can come in and just hear the baby's heartbeat. Something made me need to hear her heartbeat. So I called my doctor's office, and I also mentioned, just peeing on myself, or just my bladder leaking on Saturday. And they were like, yeah, just come in, we'll fit you in and listen to the heartbeat. I called my husband, and I didn't want to because I didn't want him to think that I was just wasting my time. So I remember saying to him, I know you're going to think I'm crazy, but I'm going to go in to the doctor's office just to hear her heartbeat, and I'll go on to work. And he was like, okay, just let me know how it goes. And that was it. I went to the doctor's, and I went back into the room and got undressed, and he put the Doppler on my stomach. And any other time, as soon as it was placed there, you could hear a heartbeat. Mm-hmm. And this time, there wasn't a heartbeat. And so he asked the tech to go get another Doppler machine. And at the same time, I'm texting my husband, they can't hear a heartbeat right now. Just mentioning it to him, not concerned at this point. And he texts me back, oh, she's not even here yet, and she's already giving me a heart attack. And so we just kind of laughed it off because it wasn't anything of concern. We're going to get this other Doppler machine, and this one is going to work. So in the meantime, he did some type of vaginal exam. And now that I'm talking about it, I'm assuming that he knew that there was no heartbeat, and whatever he did vaginally was to check for maybe infection or maybe check my cervix or something. So we went and actually got a sonogram done. I went into another room. They did the sonogram, and I looked over at the screen. And as soon as I looked over at the screen, I could tell that something was wrong because she was just there. It just looked like she was just there, like no movement. She was just there. And then they told me that there's no heartbeat, and I just didn't understand, I just didn't get it. I didn't understand how that could be. I called my husband, and, we spoke to him, and he came to the doctor's office, and I ended up getting admitted to the hospital. So at this point, I'm 20 weeks pregnant, and my OBGYN decided to have me deliver naturally. So they gave me medications to induce me, dilate me, and that night, 11/4/2014, at 11:23, I had my little girl, and it was a hard day. It was a very hard day. It was a hard night. So that's my loss story.
So what happened after you had her? Were you all able to hold her and take some time with her?
So that day, my cell phone had died. During that whole process, I was in the hospital for over 8 hours. My cell phone died. My husband's phone died. My mother-in-law was there. My sister, my best friend. Some people came and sat with us in the hospital. And I finally told them to, they knew the plan. They knew that we were going to deliver. Ava is her name. And they knew the plan. And I was like, there's no point in you guys sitting here because who knows when it's going to be. So I sent them all home, and my husband stayed. The hospital was great. The staff was great. I never felt uncomfortable. I spoke with a social worker in depth. She spoke with me and my husband, and she gave us a lot of encouragement. She gave us a lot of resources, and she did encourage us to spend time with our baby, hold our baby. After we delivered her, my OBGYN did say that he could tell by the way she looked that he's assuming that she passed away on Saturday. So now here it is Tuesday night, and he said, we'll wrap her up and we'll give her to you with her face exposed, but you may not want to look at her body. And so, we prepared ourselves because I can't imagine what, a 20-week-old baby girl looks like. I have no idea. So we just kind of prepared ourselves. Either way, this is our baby girl, no matter what she looked like. So we were able to hold her. We both held her. We prayed over her and just talked to her. And, everything happened not so fast, but everything just sort of happened. And I think when you're pregnant, or even growing up as a little girl, you're just told that you're pregnant and you have a baby. Nobody ever tells you about miscarriages, stillbirth, loss. Nobody says that. You just are pregnant, and 9 months later you have a baby. Nobody talks to you about the in-between. So when you're in this position, you don't know what you should be doing or what you shouldn't be doing, and you don't realize that you're never going to get this time back. So neither one of us had a phone that worked. Of course, camera phones. Neither one of us had a camera phone that worked. I don't think we thought to have any of the nurses take pictures, and at this point, I don't think I even remember being talked to about memorial services or any type of like burial. And even right now to this day, just, I guess, to comfort me, I just know that I had her. We held her, we talked to her, we prayed over her, we loved on her as much as we could, and we gave her back to the nurse. And just in my heart, and in my soul, I just know that they took care of my baby with respect. Like, because we didn't have a burial service, I don't even know if we knew that that was something that we should have done or even had the option of doing. Mm-hmm. We were not rushed with her. We had her for as long as we needed to. And then, we called the nurse in and we handed her to the nurse, and that was that. And, and then to this day in my mind, we handed her to the nurse, and, the nurse and the hospital staff, I just always say they took care of my baby.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And they probably, either was it a teaching hospital? Because normally a lot of teaching hospitals use babies as teaching opportunities as well.
Yeah, it wasn't a teaching hospital, but one of the things looking back, and I think this has to do with the guilt that I'll speak for myself, that I feel or have felt as a lost mom, is what should I have done or what could I have done differently. Mm-hmm. And I even remember the day of the gender reveal, which was a Saturday that my water broke. I went to the store and I wasn't expecting so many people to come to my house. So I went to the store and I bought like food, and I had 4 liters, and I carried maybe 4 grocery bags at one time. And I keep thinking to myself, if I didn't have all those bags in my hand, did I cause some kind of stress or trauma to my cervix, and that's why my water broke and that's why my baby died? I just think back to everything I did, everything I said, everything I ate, mm-hmm. everything of that day, and I just wonder if there was anything that I could have done differently. And then so even with having her, I always think, what should I have done afterwards? And one of the things that I always think about is if I should have had some type of genetic testing done, which I did not. Mm. I did not have any testing done on Ava. I didn't have any testing done. I don't know if they can even test your placenta for anything, but I didn't have any kind of testing done. And even when we were pregnant, we declined genetic testing, that type of thing. That we declined that. So I always wonder if that would have held the key to maybe why we lost her, or maybe it wouldn't have. Right. But that's one of the things that I always, still think about.
Today's podcast is brought to you by Audible. I finished Fire and Fury, and I would love to know your thoughts on it if you've listened to it. If not, you can get you a free audiobook and free 30-day trial by visiting audibletrial.com/Erica. My February selection for Audible is going to be our February book club selection, which is The Power of a Praying Wife by Stormy O'Martin. So if you're interested in getting that book or joining the Sisters in Loss book club, go to www.sistersinloss.com. And once again, to get your free audiobook and 30-day free trial, visit audibletrial.com/Erica. Once again, that's audibletrial.com/ERICA. How did your faith play a role in just your grief journey after you all went home and kind of came together, you and your husband? How did you all work through your grief together?
Initially, it was very hard, and even to this day, it's very hard, but it's different today than it was 3 years ago. But, initially I came home that night. It was maybe about 3 o'clock in the morning by the time we came home. And, this may sound extreme, but I wanted to die. I just did not understand how I could wake up the next day and feel this kind of emotional pain. And just, I was pregnant a few hours ago, and now I'm not. And I just don't understand. There was a lot of confusion. And, even while I was in the hospital, I just kept saying, I just don't understand. I just don't understand. Mm-hmm. And I just did not want to wake up. I was angry. and then I was angry because I did wake up, I was like, okay, God, why am I still here? I remember specifically asking you to please just take this pain away. Take me. I just did not want to deal with it. I just didn't know how to deal with it. And, gosh, my husband has been such a great support system. I mean, one of the things the social worker in the hospital told us was that things like this can tear a marriage apart. Mm-hmm. Like just the way you grieve or the way you maybe don't understand or support each other or understand why somebody's feeling a certain way. It can really tear you guys apart. And that stuck with me. But he's been a great support system. My faith, I mean, although I was angry with God, this was the first time that something very dramatic or a death occurred. This is the first time that a death occurred. And instead of turning away from God, I ran to him harder. Mm-hmm. My mom passed away. My dad passed away. And back then, as a Christian, as one that didn't really understand the power of prayer and the power of the Holy Spirit and just, understand the way, prayer works in general, I remember praying for my dad to get better and praying for my mom to get better, and they passed away anyway. So, God, what is this? Like, I pray to you. I think I'm a good Christian. Aren't you supposed to answer my prayers and give me what I asked for? Mm-hmm. And that didn't happen in those two situations, and I just stopped believing. Mm-hmm. But when I lost Ava, by that time, I just kind of understood more. My walk and my faith was just a lot different, and I'd grown a lot more. And just so instead of being so angry and just like, turning my back on Jesus, I ran as fast as I could, and I just made sure that I just held on to that faith that everything is going to be okay. Everything is working out. I don't understand it. I may not like it, but this is God's will, whatever it is. And I may never understand why it happened on this side of earth, but this is God's will for me, and it hurts, and I'm grieving, and I miss my baby that I never got to hold, alive. But, there's a plan. God has a plan, and as confused as I am and as impatient as I get a lot, I know that there's a plan.
Awesome. Yes, God does have a plan. So let's talk about your infertility journey. So after this, you and your husband started to try again, and you all went to see a fertility specialist. So let's talk about that.
So we did start to try again. I remember going into my OBGYN 2 weeks later for the postpartum checkup, which was so difficult because, when you think of postpartum, you think of this appointment with your baby. And, it was just a very hard appointment. And he said to us, you can try again. In medical school, I was taught to tell you to wait 3 months. But if you were to come to me 3 months from now and say you're pregnant, or 2 months from now and say you're pregnant, I would be happy. So we kind of took that 3-month rule and ran with it. And in our minds, we think that if we didn't wait, we probably would have gotten pregnant. I don't know if that's a comfort thing, but we waited the 3 months, and then we started trying, and it just wasn't happening. And before we went and saw a specialist, we did the temping thing every day to check for ovulation. We used ovulation predictor kits, timed intercourse. We didn't think about it like everybody says to not do. We did like all the things that we could do without any kind of medical intervention. And then finally we did go see a fertility specialist. And it's one of those things where I think with me, everything is kind of okay. I mean, my age may play a role. I just turned 38. But with my husband, there was some abnormality in his semen analysis. So we did do 3 IUIs. My husband was okay with going that far. We did 3 IUIs, intrauterine insemination, and those were unsuccessful. And we've been back and forth with IVF for about 2 years now. Like, we've just, I don't think I'm 100% with it at the moment. My husband is definitely not on board with it, so that makes it a little harder, because I think that if he was on board with IVF, we would definitely have done it. I'm just not 100% sure about that, and that's one of the things that I pray about. I just pray about just answers, just direction when it comes to the next step. along with trying naturally, do I want to do IVF?
Right. And with IVF, we know, even with IUIs, it's a cost associated with it. So as much as we love the healthcare system, and some people hate it, we can go back and forth on it.
Exactly.
We don't get pardoned for that.
Exactly.
We have to always come out our pockets for pretty much anything that's when it comes to fertility related. You put fertility on it, it's almost like putting wedding on everything. It goes up 10 times the amount. Right.
That is so true. Right. Well, the thing is, I think my husband, and he said this to me over and over again, if it was guaranteed, he's one of those people. Like, if it was guaranteed, he would probably be more okay with it. And if we didn't get pregnant naturally the first time, he would be okay with it. If we'd never got pregnant and we were having infertility issues, I think he would be more on board. But he always says to me, we got pregnant before. Why can't we do it again? And I think it's just harder for him to understand the fact that, a lot of times with infertility, maybe there is no clear-cut reason as to why or why not, and that's something that I've had to learn to accept. And then also, another thing that he says is, how do you know we're not going to miscarry again? And I'm like, I don't know, but that's a chance that I'm willing to take.
Right. That's the faith walk.
That's the faith walk, because as much as I want to be pregnant, I see a therapist. That's one of the things that's helped me through my grief. I write, I journal, and, my therapist said to me that, she thinks that I'm more afraid of being pregnant, just being pregnant. And I am. I think as much as I want to be, I'll be terrified because I just don't know why I miscarried. And, so I don't know what to not do. I don't know what to prevent. I don't know what to, take it easy with. But I've also seen a lot of women who have gone on to have babies after a miscarriage, and it may have been a hard 9 months, but I know it's doable.
It is doable. It definitely is doable. And it's doable no matter what avenue you choose, whether or not you go do another IUI or you go through IVF, or if you and your husband consider adopting a baby, it's still doable.
And all those are options.
Yeah, and those are all our options. And I'm in that same situation too, where I'm like, well, we don't know if we're going to go through the IVF route or if we wanted to adopt, because I lost my uterus in my last pregnancy with my son. So I, of course, can't have any kids because I had to have a hysterectomy. So we would have to do IVF and then surrogacy. So that's an additional cost on top of the IVF to pay for someone to carry your child. So we're in that same boat where we're going back and forth. But, like you said, you just got to have that faith no matter which lane you choose, that God is going to provide, and God is going to bless it, because it's something that you desire and you've prayed on it, and it's something that you really want.
Yes.
Awesome. So what encouraging words can you leave the lost moms out there who are in our situation, who are, going through this journey, just are still on the journey to try again to have another baby?
I would say to just don't give up hope. Just don't give up hope. Just be as faithful as you can. I know it's hard. It's so hard. It's so hard, especially when it seems like everyone else is getting pregnant, especially those who seem to not have any complications with trying to get pregnant, and they go on to have, babies after 9 months, and it just seems so smooth. I would just say to stay encouraged and not to compare your journey with somebody else's. I as much as my journey is heartbreaking and just not what I would have thought for myself, if anybody would have told me that I would be a lost mom, that wasn't ever even a thought. It just was something that you just don't think about. You just don't even know it exists until it happens to you. Just don't compare your journey to anybody else's journey, because even though this happened to me, I'm just so grateful to even have been pregnant. Was a miracle. It was just awesome, and I loved that time. And my time after Ava, I spent in grief. I've also spent it growing emotionally, growing in my faith, growing in my marriage. I would just say to stay encouraged, and comparison is that's really what's going to just kind of make you feel like you're hopeless or worthless or you can't do this. But just stay encouraged. Surround yourself with a community of women that know what you're going through. It's hard to talk to people who have never experienced it, but when you can connect with other women who are struggling with fertility or who have lost a baby somehow, it just, you can lean on each other, and it's just such a good, strong bond.
Mm-hmm. Awesome.
I'm closer with people now that I just met the past 3 years than people that I've known like most of my life, because I can call people and just start crying, and they know what to say or what not to say, and they know how I'm feeling, and I can just hang up and it is well, you know? So it's just surround yourself with a good, strong community, and just don't give up faith. Just stay encouraged.
Amen. So where can we find you on social?
On social media, so I'm not really as vocal as I should be or as I want to be. I'm not on Facebook, but I am Aneisa Fadilla on Instagram. And I do have, I call it a baby blog, because I just kind of write for healing. You know, I write for healing. I write because it makes, it kind of releases, you know, whatever anxiety or whatever fears I have. It's healing, and it kind of like gives me like strength or hope. So I do write. I have a baby blog at myhopefloats.wordpress.com. And that's it. Those are my only two social media outlets.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being on the podcast and sharing.
Thank you for having me.
And your infertility journey. And I just hope and pray that in 2018, you know, you and your husband are on the same page. I'm just going to pray for just you all in general.
Thank you.
And we will hear some success from you, no matter which route you go, what God chooses for you.
So much. Amen. Thank you so much.
Thank you for listening to today's episode of the Erica M. McAfee podcast. I pray that this episode was inspirational and a blessing to you. For show notes of today's episode, visit ericamcafee.com/podcast episodes. We now have a Facebook group. Please join the Sisters in Loss community on Facebook by going to ericamcafee.com/community to join in the discussion. This community is for you, the listeners of the Erica and McAfee podcast, and it's for us to dive deeper in discussion of the episodes. We're going to chat with some of the episode guests and discuss questions around grief, loss, marriage, faith, and love. If this group is for you, please visit ericamcafee.com/community to join. I am also launching my Trying Again Grief Coaching Service. This is for those who are trying to conceive after a loss and are looking for that emotional and spiritual support going through that journey. I have 3 open slots available for coaching. So if this is of interest to you, please visit ericamcafee.com/coaching and sign up for a discovery call with me. I look forward to helping you all through your grief journey and your pregnancy after loss journey. Please do not forget to subscribe, rate, and review the Erica M. McAfee podcast, especially if you're listening in iTunes. Keep the faith, and I will talk to you next Wednesday.